everyone, and welcome to the webinar on Kotlin, a collaboration of DSC JIIT and DSC BVP. Also, to register for Bitbox, that is a solution challenge hackathon. Link is present in the description, so find it out and register straight away or head over to the DSC JIIT-128.studio. I'm Himandri, your host for the day. I'm excited for the session today, and I hope that so is our audience. Without any further delay, I would like to welcome our speaker for the day. We have Chintan Parmar sir, who has joined us today. Chintan works as an Android developer. He's passionate about making great apps. He's also an organizer at Kotlin Mumbai, a Jetbrains official community. He has worked on Fintech applications like HDFC Smarthub, Mintoak, and currently he's working with an EdTech startup developing a digital solution for mentors and teachers. Welcome, sir.
Hello everyone. Yeah. Good to see you all. So I'm excited to you all are participating in this Google Solution Challenge and building applications and solving problems. So I'm really excited to answer your doubts and help you in your journey. So yeah, thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much. We can start with the Q&A session right now. And also, if our audience have any doubts or queries, just put it in the live chat and we will try our best to answer them all. So our first question is, what are the native app development and cross-platform app development and what to choose?
Okay. So native app development, if you go through in the mobile app development thing, so you will find that we have two platforms which are majorly used across the globe, which are Android and iOS. So in the West, if we see the iOS is very much used, and in the countries like India and other places, we use Android. So these are the two platforms where you can build the mobile application for Android and iOS. So for Android, you have native you have Java and Kotlin, and for the UI you currently use XML for designing the UI. So those are the options in Android. And if you go to iOS, you have Swift and Objective C. So that is a different thing. But designing the application for iOS takes a bit of effort, as in you should have a Mac system. That's the first need. Second thing is you will have to learn Objective C or Swift. As in Android, what happens? You have been taught Java in your curriculum. So in your school days, you in your if you have belong to ICSE or even in your college engineering, you have definitely went through Java. And again, Java is object oriented, so you might easily grab it. So Java is kind of Google adopted it first, and now since Android is Kotlin first, even Kotlin is a very easiest language to learn, and you get a lot of tools and documentation. So you can start with Android very easily, and it would be very kind of affordable. In case you have a Windows system or maybe a system which runs Linux, you can easily start with Android development. You just have to install Android Studio and get started. And also you definitely would be having an Android device to test out your app, so that is again a cost saving. So yeah, and also if you're building application that are targeting Indian audience, definitely would be building on Android. So my focus for currently would be if you're doing Android development, that would be really helpful. So yeah, in native we have this iOS and Android. Two things are there, that is Swift and Kotlin for today's generation. And if you go for cross-platform, that is we call hybrid as well. So in that we have the React Native is there, Ionic is there, and the current latest trend among the this generation and developers is Flutter. So everyone would be in their mind, okay, should I learn Flutter or should I learn Kotlin? This doubt everyone must have in their mind. So yeah, definitely Flutter is really a good framework for building the application, and for that the language you use is Dart. Dart is again very I have used Dart to build few applications, so I feel like it is more like a Java only, so you won't feel that much difficulty while learning. So Flutter is the good thing for cross-platform app development, and also the community is very helpful. Like there are there are a large number of community even in the India. Like you have Flutter Mumbai, you have Flutter for different states and cities. So yeah, Flutter community is really helpful, and you also have open source tools to learn Flutter, and also you have very YouTube channels where you can easily go and learn Flutter, and also the Flutter documentation is really very easy. Like if you compare to other documentation, Flutter documentation is very easy, and even for your system, uh, if you don't have, or if your system is not compatible for Android Studio, you can download VS Code and start with Flutter. So those are the tools. Like in native, you have in Android Kotlin and Java, and in cross-platform, I would recommend Flutter. Or in case you are already good with JavaScript, you can go with the React Native and learn about that. So what to choose in case if you ask me, so totally depends on you and the application which you are targeting, as in like if you are building some application which requires SDK which are kind of like native, like you are using some camera API, or you want to access storage system and everything in very deeply, and also your audience is like primarily Android. So like why to choose a hybrid? Because already your audience is majority in Android, and you could be having access to the native SDK in very deeply. So I would recommend Android doing it. And in case you want to, like, you have audience like 50-50 or 60-40, and you want to target both of them, then you can definitely go with Flutter. Both of them are very good, and both of them are backed by Google, so definitely they have good learning sources. Flutter, generally people say like you can build a decent UI and you can have a very good output. So yeah, that also works. And also if your system is less compatible with the high configuration, you can start with Flutter.
I completely agree. That was a great answer. So, moving on to our next question. So, as we know that Kotlin is the official language for Android development, what are the other areas that we can use Kotlin in? Like in hybrid, can we also use Kotlin kind of things?
Okay, okay. Yeah. So since like Kotlin, the language is built up by JetBrains, so they are also making this language more and more mature each and every release. So yeah, since it is the official language for Android development, you can definitely use Kotlin for different areas and aspect. Since and the Jetpack Compose, which is the upcoming native UI toolkit, which is coming, where you won't have to write the UI for Android in XML, you would be writing it in Kotlin only. So that would be again thing where you would be using Kotlin. Again, Kotlin has started supporting multi-platform thing. It won't be completely like Flutter, but you would be writing your business logic in the Kotlin, and then you would be having the UI layer, which you would be calling from iOS or Android, anything. So it would be like you are writing some logic, which is like some calculation. Just to give an example, like you are doing some multiplication, you would be writing that in Kotlin, and then you can use that same piece of code or function in both of the language. So that is the thing. Also, Kotlin is going like completely multi-platform. Like you can build web application. Currently, there are people and companies who are using Kotlin at their backend side. Like we use Java Spring Boot. So similarly, Kotlin can be used for the backend language as well. And also, they have started to support designing the desktop application, like Jetpack Compose is coming up with that. So yeah, there are various areas where you can use Kotlin.
That was really great. Like that was really like a wider perspective of Kotlin. So moving on to our next question. So what are the benefits of using Kotlin and what's your favorite Kotlin feature?
Okay. What are the benefits of using Kotlin? So, as an Android developer, I started, and definitely most of them would have started with Java, and then I slowly started moving my projects to Kotlin. What I really like about Kotlin is it's definitely it is like null safety and everything is there. But what I really like is it reduces the lines of code in your project. So simple to give an example, like when you are having a class, which we say Pojo class or data class. So you have to you define a name like class person, then you have a constructor, then you have a getter setter. But same thing in Kotlin can be written in one line. Like you just write a data class and you pass your string and integer variable. So that is the thing which I write. Like it reduces the lines of code and it makes easily to understand and read out the code. Like you don't have to go multiple things. Also, there are various benefits, like apart from null safety, concise is there. Also, it is the same like Java, it's platform independent and everything is there. But I also like the support for extension functions, which is one of the good feature of Kotlin. And like you can write a function, like suppose you have a function where you want to check email. So you define the, you take the extension from string, like you write string, and then you write the function which you want to write, like string is email valid. And whenever now you want to check that whether the user is entering valid email or not, you can simply take the text from your input and you can check with this function. So you don't have to again and again write same pattern or something. So that is the good thing which I like. So one thing is like the reducing the lines of code, and other like function supports and those things.
Yeah, completely agree. So like it's very good for writing short codes and easy understandability. So moving on to our next questions. What are the career opportunities with Kotlin and Android development?
Okay. So yeah, definitely as in career opportunities, like I would say like apart from different like Flutter or maybe other development like mobile hybrid, you definitely get good opportunities in Android development specifically. But as in Kotlin, there are still like the large companies or the big companies, they have started using Kotlin, and some of them they have some modules in other languages, some in Kotlin, so they have started with that. Uh, but there are still, if you go for the small companies or the companies which are building application, like we call them service based companies. So they build multiple applications for different startups and everything. So they still uses Java. But as in Kotlin, if you are learning, so it won't be very difficult, to switch between two languages, because there might be a case where your old developers have used Java and now you have started using Kotlin. So then you might have to, require to switch to Java and Kotlin few times. But definitely you can easily do that, because both of them are like kind of similar only. So as an opportunities in India, definitely you have a lot of good opportunities in Kotlin and Android development. But thing is that you will need to have a good portfolio for that, because generally company ask like, okay, what experience you have in Kotlin or Android. So you can't say ki, I have gone through this course or I have done this. You will have to show them some output. So if you are having a couple of applications, maybe two is enough. Like two or three applications are there, and if one of them is on Play Store, that is a really good win situation. So you can showcase them this. You have this application, and you can definitely get hired easily. So it's just like keep exploring the new opportunities and improving your skill set. That's it. So you have good opportunities.
That's great. That's great. So moving on to our next question. If someone wants to learn mobile development in 2021, what should be your like advice, and where should they start from?
Okay. In 2021, if you are starting out in Android, definitely go and start with Kotlin. And that would be my advice. I'll start learning with Kotlin. And in case when you are applying to some companies which are asking for Java, then definitely you can read about the code and you can understand. So that is an easy thing. But yeah, start learning in Kotlin if you are doing native Android. If you want to go for hybrid, Flutter or React Native, both the choices are there. And where should you start? So you can start like instead of going and buying out courses, and then it happens many times, you buy courses and you don't have then that enthusiasm to complete the courses. So what you can do is you can first read about the documentation. So like if you're starting with Kotlin, you can visit kotlinlang.org. They have a very good source of learning, so you can easily start by learning there. And also they have this Kotlin playground where you can like write functions and test out different stuff, and you can run code online like in your browser, so that is a good thing. And for learning Android, I would say Google Code Labs is the best place. You can start with Google Code Labs, so you can search it for codelabs.google.com, and you can start like pick up your track in Android, whatever you like, and then you can start with that. And for designing the user interface in Android, Material.io is a very good platform where you can find and learn about the components. Like since every platform has its own independent design where they use, like in Google we use material design. So material.io, if you visit, you can learn about the UI components. So for UI components, material.io. For learning the programming, Code Labs. And for learning more about Kotlin, I would say Kotlin Lang is the best place where you can start.
That's really informative, and we should start like that. So, moving on to our next question, what are some good practices that you will recommend for developing apps?
Okay, what are good practices? So when you start in Android, you might be not aware of architecture and the other stuff which you would be eventually grasping in your like later period of time when you are doing more and more and learning about Android. But since it's 2021 and you are starting out, the best practice would be like you start with some architecture pattern. Like MVVM is the recombinant architecture where you have a view model and data class and everything. So you can learn about MVVM more. Again, the documentation will help you out. So you can visit the Android developers documentation and learn about MVVM. So that is a good practice in Android to start out. Also, like don't like try to learn the expertise stuff like dependency injections or everything in the first go, because that might eventually bring you down. Okay, that you will feel like, okay, this is very difficult to learn or something. So best practice, if you start, you can simply learn the MVVM architecture. You can learn about the components. As in Android you have Jetpack components, so learn about the Jetpack components because that would be really helpful in the coming the development when you will starting. Like for navigation you would be using Jetpack navigation. For background work you would be using Jetpack work manager is there. So that you can do. And for good practices in Kotlin, if I say, uh, start using like more and more Kotlin in your code, and for asynchronous task and everything, start using coroutines. So that will help you, and that this would be a very good practices to getting started with.
That's a great answer. So, moving on to our next question. So, as you have prolonged experience, industrial experience, what you say, are companies searching to newer technologies, or they're just sticking to older ones, the traditional ones?
Okay, so this is the earlier, as I said, there are a bunch of companies who like they are moving to the newer technologies. But what happens, as a developer perspective, we everyone wants to learn and use the latest stuff. Like even if I'm learning something new, I would be excited and I would be like asking my company to implement that. But when you think from a company perspective, what they think is like. Isn't coding we see like if something is working, don't touch it. So they think like that. If something is really working and feature is already rolled out, uh, like switching to a new thing would be really challenging because that will require a testing effort and everything. So until and unless you don't have that much deadline, like example, if I say you have a bunch of features to your company is targeting to complete in first half of the year. So once that is completed, then they might think of moving to the a newer technology. Like in Zomato, if you see, they have moved their code base to Kotlin, and similarly, the big companies they have started moving to the newer technologies. But definitely, it takes time. Like if you say like the Jetpack Compose is coming, maybe it is now in beta, so it comes in stable, and you can't expect them at least for couple of years to start using it. They would be still sticking to XML because from their perspective, they have to think about both of these things. So there are companies which are adapting, but that would be few, but not the less. So you can definitely try out those companies, and these small companies, which again have like very strict deadlines and everything, they still use old technologies. But definitely, if you present yourself and with that confidence, okay, I have this thing and I can do this, so definitely they would be ready to adapt.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, moving on to our next question. Google in every newer version of Android makes many changes, like depreciating things or adding new feature, etc. Sometimes it becomes hard for developers to cope up with the latest release and maintain old applications. So, what are your thoughts about it?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. It happens like most of the time, and especially when you are having some API dependencies, like native API, if you're using like for storage and everything, and then Google comes up and to increase security and everything, they just say, okay, we are deprecating this. So that is a bit challenging for developers, but yeah, you will have to stay updated with those things. But Google doesn't do it in a hurry. Like they give you a particular period of time, like maybe 6 months, 1 year, something, or maybe at least a one version of release. Like when Google announced that they would be using scope storage, so they gave developers time till, like, if you are targeting your Android 10 and the later version, then you will have to start adapting Android scope storage. But the pandemic hit, and they have delayed the deadline for that. So still the developers have time to do that. But yeah, so the you will have to stay updated with through their latest like a documentation, or maybe stay up to date with their Twitter channels and all that. So then you can like stay up to date what's coming next, and you can be prepared for that. And yeah, it happens most of the time that Google brings new things, but also the older things which you were using, they start deprecating. But you don't have to worry about that, because deprecating the code doesn't mean like your code would be working. It would be like your code would be working, but someday in like maybe couple of versions they would be stop working. So you don't have to be aggressive on that. But yeah, you should do those accept those new changes and start doing it, because it's good for the users. If we think about it, like it's either in the perspective of security, or maybe some optimization is there from Google end. And sometimes they break functionality, but most of the time they are thinking good for users and developers. So as a developer, you will get something to do in case you are missing out on that is like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. So moving on to our next question. Um, Many students focus on cracking big companies like FANG, focusing mainly on data structure and algorithms. They totally avoid the development domains. What's your views on that?
Okay. Uh, yeah. So when you are preparing for fan companies, what main thing you should first do is learn about the development thing first. Like architecture is there, then all the components which are in available in Android, you go and take a deep dive in, and then you start preparing for data structures and algorithm. Because a data structure and algorithm is a primary layer for companies, like not only fan companies, but I have noticed that many like medium scale companies or even small companies have started this thing. Like they start to you with the algorithm question. So this is the first round of interview where you get the hacker and hacker earth, or such kind of platform where you have to solve their algorithm question, which many times you might think this is irrelevant to the profile you are applying. But this is just a criteria to filter out the candidates. Like if you have 100 of candidates, and you just want to filter out, what you will do is you will give them a coding test, such kind of like data structure and algorithm, and then you would be getting filter out candidates. So data structure and algorithm main area is like how good you are at problem solving. So like if you have given some questions or maybe a problem in future, how you would be good at solving it and finding the easiest solution. So that's the reason they try to focus on data structure and algorithm. But it is like a very like 80-20 kind of ratio. Like if you have to give your 80% to development, because the 20% which you are doing is just for cracking an interview. After that, there would be 2 or 3 rounds which would be based on the Android part, or maybe whatever the domain part which you are selecting, or Flutter or anything. So, and data structure is just a gateway, but rest you have to be assured. So I would say first prepare yourself in development things so strongly that even sometimes you will, fail in the algorithm or data structure, but you can definitely ask them about the this development part, and you can go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree with the answer. So, moving on to our next question, would you like to tell us about your journey as an Android developer?
Okay. So as my journey, like yeah, I learned Android in like 2016 midway, and in 2017 when I was in my final year of graduation, I applied for like I was looking out for internship, as in every engineer starts looking out for internship. So I found one of the companies and I started working as an intern. What I learned in starting is like when you are starting into coding and programming, don't look about money, like, and don't think about money. Learn about learning new skills and you know like learning new things and all that, and making yourself so strong that you can easily get a good job in future. So as an if you are doing an engineering thing, you would be having campus interviews and everything. So if your goal is to, you have any particular goal, like you want to do a particular development, then you can go ahead. In case you don't have that, you can definitely get selected and get hired to campus interview, and then you can do your work. But if you have a goal that I have learned is, so start with that, even if you are not going to earn like for a few months or maybe something like that. But once you have grabbed that interest and you have doing a good development, definitely you would be having good opportunities. So I started with my internship, and I was that time I was not knowing many things about Android, like even the difference between the activity and fragment I wasn't aware. But slowly I started reading about the documentation, and whenever I was having some bug, I used to run on Stack Overflow and figuring out, okay, what is going on and wrong. So that time I learned one thing is also that, like, whenever you are starting a new feature, what you can do is you can break down into the area where what you will require. So suppose you have to build a feature where you are displaying a list of users. So what you will do is you will break it down, like what all things you will require. So you will say you will require an API. So in case you don't know how to integrate or implement APIs in Android, you will go and run read about the retrofit on an like Google. So you will get an idea. Then you will say, okay, you want to show a list. So how you can show the list of items? So you will go on Google and say, okay, how can I show the list? So they will say you can use recycler view. So you will read about recycler view. Then eventually you will start learning things. So instead of jumping into the feature anything, you first have to break down those things, and that will help you to solve the problem which are not even going to come up. Because once you have all the strong aspect of what you are building, you won't be getting stuck, because you already know like what code you have to write. So that thing I learned, like, okay, whenever you're building something, first take your time and at least for a couple of hours break it down, what is the requirement, how you can build it, and then you can go ahead. And also you have to stay up to date with the latest trends which are going on in your learning area and where you are doing job. Suppose if I'm working in Android, I am going to have to stay updated. So I have subscribed to many of the Twitter handles, and I'm following a lot of people who are into Android. And also the community really helps. So as in when you are out of your college and you are working as a working professional, you would be thinking like, okay, community is no longer needed, but that's totally wrong. So you will have to be a part of community, like as I'm part of Kotlin community, I also attend other communities meetups and everything. So I meet new people, I get to know about their company work culture, how they are working. So that might open the door for more opportunities. And also you would be having a good connections with people. So I would say this thing. So like when you are starting out, don't look about money, think about the learning opportunities. Like find a good company, even if it's a startup. Think about like how much you will get to learn. Yeah, definitely don't do free internships. I would say, but at least you should have your bread butter something. So just ask if they can pay you good stipend. Even not, and you think that opportunity is really great in helping you learning, go ahead. Second thing is stay up to date with the things going on in your development area. So that is like you can be socially aware and be a part of communities. And third thing is keep learning new things. So that's it. What I have learned.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like being in communities, like building networks, and networks are the key to our success in a way. So, moving on to our next question. As we all know, the Google Solution Challenge had already been started, although many are still struggling to find the right project idea. Um, any solution, suggestions you can provide for it, like any ideas
Okay.
or like anything?
Right. Uh, so like it is simple. Like when you are finding some solution, you will have to start looking out for problems around you. Like if you have read about the startup culture and maybe journey of the entrepreneurs. So what they have done is they were as a normal people, they were doing their work and they're living their life, but they found something. Okay, why this thing can't be happened this way? So this is the question you have to ask every time. Like I will give you an example. So suppose you are ordering food, you would be ordering like calling the nearby restaurant and you would asking them to deliver the food. So that time if you ask the question, okay, why can't we have a something where I don't have to call them and ask like, okay, what is the menu and how long it will take to deliver, and do you provide this varieties or something like that. So at that time the answer definitely you would be having now in your mind, that would be like you would be having food ordering apps. So similarly, I would say first look out around you in your environment, or maybe the area where you stay, that you might find some problems. Like I had one of my friend, so they had they when he was staying in a complex, they were having some issues like whenever some delivery guy comes up or something. So they were having this intercom and everything. But what he thought, like, okay, what if I built an application where like a security guard, someone can see and hit like, okay, this is the room number and this person has came, and you would be getting a notification. So that was a really good thing. So you will first have to look around you and find some good thing. Like in pandemic situation, there were many people who started their side hostel. So they start building their application like for teaching, or someone started YouTube channels like for cooking and everything. So similarly, you can think of something like you are building some applications where you are providing them good recipes for which are 5-minute recipe kind of thing, and you are sharing content. Or maybe some so like application where people like they there was an application where you used to play games. So you have made interconnected application where people can stay connected by playing games or something. So such things you can do. So you can look around you and find the ideas. In case if you don't find out that way, what I would suggest is go to the open source API thing. Like there are many API platform like Rapid API is one of them. So if you visit Rapid API, you will find that there are lists of API where you are getting different things. So like that like as an example I would give. So there is an API where you are getting the nutritional value of food. Okay, so you can take that API and then you can think like, okay, what I can build with this API. So what you can do is one is you can have a application where a person enters the name of the product and you show the nutritional values. Second, what you can do is you can have an app which tracks your calories. Like, okay, how much calories I should be having in a day. So you enter like, okay, I had 2 packets of chips. So how much calories I'm gaining. What else you can do is you can integrate that API with some barcode thing and fetch the product details, and then you can search for the nutritional value. So this thing will help you. So go on internet and start looking out for ready-made APIs which are available and free to use. and then think what you can build with those APIs. Or first thing is look around you what people can help you out. So ask your parents, ask your relatives, like, okay, are you facing anything problem in your while using the Android device, or maybe like anything problem you are facing in your life and which can be solved by technology. So look for that. And in case both of things doesn't work out, you can definitely look the current state of application, like which are already available on Play Store. Try to add something on that, on the layer of that, so you can club multiple application into one or something like that. So that way you can get some ideas.
I completely agree. That was a really informative way to find any problems or any solution that our participants may be working on. So that was our last question for the day. And thank you so much, sir. That was really informating and that was really amazing session. Thank you so much for answering all the questions so well. And anything at the last, like you would like to say or anything, or we can
Okay.
just yeah.
Yeah. So last is that nothing like you don't get confused with the multiple things available for development. Pick one thing at a time and start learning it instead of focusing on multiple things, or maybe thinking about starting this or that and staying in confusion. Start with anything you like, even if you this is your early days of learning and growing. So even if you fail at something, like you started with Android and you didn't like, you can definitely switch to Flutter. So no one is going to stop you. But just don't blindly accept anything which people say. Try out different things, but one at a time, and then adapt one which you are really interested in, and start doing that development, and then stay up to date which or whatever you have picked, and your journey would be going good.
That was really great advice. So thank you so much everyone for joining in, and thank you so much, sir, for the amazing session.
Yeah. Okay. Goodbye. See you guys. Yeah.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.